Welcome, you are listening to the Twice Over Movies podcast. In these first few episodes, I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes explaining who we are and what we're doing with this podcast and website. So as you can tell, this podcast is specifically about movies. My name is Faraz and I'll be hosting each episode alongside a rotating co-host between Fahad, Yusuf, and Faaraan. Each episode is for one movie. We will spend 10 to 20 minutes discussing our scores without giving away any major spoilers. Afterwards, we will have a spoiler alert, and then we will dive into a deeper discussion into the movie. And that will go as long as it goes, maybe 15 to 45 additional minutes. Our scores are broken into 5 segments of a movie. First, acting, defined as the execution of the writing and story by the actors. Second, direction and plot, defined as the entertainment value, pace, and audience connection. Third is the writing, which is defined as primarily the dialogue. Fourth is the cinematography and photography, defined as the visual appeal of the movie. Fifth, themes and motifs, defined as the presentation of the underlying message and/or idea. For each of these categories, we assess if it was substantive, purposeful, logical, engaging, satisfying, clear, consistent, etc. This is where the website comes into play. Depending on how you order the importance of the categories mentioned, you will get a composite score indicating the strength of the movie on your standards. Currently, you will see a score based only on how the host rated the movie, but we have every intention to include you into the process to add a community score alongside the host score. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, continue listening, and support us. Now on to the episode.
All right. I remember you. And I'll admit I was a little curt that night.
Kurt?
Okay, I was an asshole. I can admit that.
Okay.
But requesting Iran from a serious musician is just, it's too far.
My lord, did you just say a serious musician?
I don't think so.
Can I borrow what you're wearing?
Why?
Because I have an audition next week. I'm playing a serious firefighter.
So you're an actress. I thought you looked familiar. Have I seen you in anything?
The coffee shop on the Warner Brothers lot. That's a classic.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You're a barista. And I can see how you could then look down on me from all the way up there. I'm done. Next set. He doesn't tell me what to do.
He just told you what to do.
I know, I let him. What's your name?
Mia?
Mia. Guess I'll see you in the movies.
Hey everyone, this is Faraz.
Yeah, this is Faaraan.
Today we're discussing La La Land 2016 film directed by Damien Chazelle. Alright, so we're going to get right to it. We're going to start with our scores. Faaraan, I gave this writing score a 65. What about you?
65?
65, yeah. What, really? I was going to say, I didn't think it was anything compelling. If 70 is average, it was probably just below average. It wasn't bad. Quick edit here. After further discussion that comes after the spoiler alert, I did end up changing my writing score from a 65 to a 75.
Yeah, I don't think it was, I would give it a 65. I went with an 80. I mean, it's definitely not the strong point of this movie.
80 is a little strong, I think. I mean, if we're saying 70 is like an acceptably good, decent, average script that you see in a movie, you're saying this is definitely better than most?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Writing's just dialogue, right?
Yeah, it is. Writing is just dialogue. Now, this is kind of tricky because this is a musical, right? So, because some of the lyrics are good in the songs,
Yeah.
and they obviously play a large role in the story. But I kind of considered that part of writing, and I still gave it a 65.
Okay. Yeah, I consider that part of the writing, and I give it an 80.
All right. We'll get into that. All right. What about your acting score?
Acting was, I think, one of the strong points of this movie. I mean, I give it a 90 just because I don't want to be too extreme after yesterday or after last time.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. Acting is pretty good. I give it an 85. Emma Stone is just great, honestly. Like every time there was a reaction or an emotion that needed to be displayed,
So
she just did
natural.
it so perfectly that I felt it. I felt that
Absolutely.
emotion with her. So 85, 90, I mean, we're pretty close in terms of what we thought about the acting. All right, what about the cinematography?
What do you think?
I gave it a 90. I mean, it's one of the strong points of like most musicals, and in this movie, it's really good. There's a lot of great shots throughout the movie. I mean, they have, big landscape type shots that show like the city and like the sunset, a lot of twilight shots. And then you have like the close-up shots in the bar or at the restaurant of them like, singing or him playing the piano at the jazz club or right outside. I don't know. There was a lot of great shots, and they were very noticeable.
Look, I didn't want to be too extreme after Moonrise Kingdom, so I went with the 95.
Okay, no, yeah, we're pretty much in agreement there. That's very close.
This is so compelling visually to watch.
It is.
Yeah, it deserves a 95, I believe.
I could give it a 95, but I stuck with 90. I don't want to get too crazy.
What did you get for direction and plot? What's your score for that?
I give it an 80. It's above average. It's pretty good. It's easy to follow the story. I actually liked the plot in itself. I really liked how it ended. I liked the story as it progressed throughout. And even though it's somewhat predictable, I don't think it's meant to be, a story that you got to sit back and think and be like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? You kind of know what's going to happen, but it's presented well. There's no point of confusion, and you're enjoying the story in general, and the direction is great, and it flows well.
I'm kind of torn. There are parts of this movie that are so well executed, some ideas that are so well thought out, and then some that are just like surprisingly forced, cliche, and unnatural. There's certain parts that are, I believe, just it just doesn't belong in the like full frame of this movie. So I went with an 85 because of the parts that they did do well. I think they did so well.
Honestly, we're very close other than the writing. What was your themes and motif score?
Yeah, themes and motifs that was a tough one. I gave it an 85 as well because of a couple of ideas that I think that they did really well. To be honest with you, I don't know. There's probably a little bias in that. I'm gonna probably change that to an 80 just because there weren't a whole lot of themes and motifs.
Yeah, so I give it a 65, just under average, because of what you said for the direction points, which was a lot of cliche, and it was kind of in your face and obvious and not really subtle in terms of what the theme was. And there was only one real theme. I would just say it's the theme of, pursuing your dreams, the sacrifice that you make to pursue that dream, whether it's for love or what, right? I just think it was very one-dimensional in that category, so that's why I went with 65.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that one they did do pretty well, but not exceptionally well.
They did it extraordinarily well.
I don't know about that. Okay, fine. Yeah. We disagree. All right, so this is a spoiler alert, guys. At this point, we're going to go into details of the movie. And if you have not watched this movie and do want to watch it without getting spoiled, we advise you stop listening now and come back after you've watched it. And if you don't care and have already seen it, you can continue listening.
You should care.
I think you should care. I actually like this movie a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like, musicals are one of my. They're up there with like random rom-coms that I just genuinely enjoy watching.
Yeah, you out of all people in the world, I can totally imagine. I can totally imagine you saying that.
I did. It's one of those kind of movies where it's made to entertain and like have you leaving the theater feeling good, and it does that.
Where did you first watch this movie? Can I ask you that?
I watched it with my wife in the theater right around Oscar season. So whenever it came out in 2016, we probably watched it that December 2016.
So you kind of already knew that this was going to be that kind of a movie, like something deserving of your attention.
Yeah. I knew it was gonna be a good movie, and I knew like my wife would enjoy it, and I like musicals, so I would enjoy it. So we went and watched it.
See, so my experience was that I had friends who had seen the movie, and they're not the most reliable friends in terms of opinions on movies, and they all said it was good. And my wife and I happened to be in a theater, and then we just went to the movie theater. We were in the mall, and we went to the movie theater. And then we're like, all right, what movie are we going to watch? And she's like, La La Land. And I'm like, what the hell is this movie? This is that dumbass movie that people have been talking about. I guess, okay, whatever. We'll go watch it. It'll make her happy. We were in the first year of getting married.
Your contrarian nature was coming out.
We were still in our honeymoon phase. I was like, whatever. This is going to bite me in the ass if we don't watch this. So we go to watch the movie. I didn't even know it was a musical. I didn't even know who was in it. I just knew the movie was called La La Land, and that there was a little bit of buzz among people whose opinions I did not trust. So it starts, and this girl starts singing, and I'm like, this is gonna be like Glee. I'm not gonna be able to stand this movie. I swear to God, like 30 seconds into that song, I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is completely different. This is what they're doing right now is amazing. Like that first scene, I feel like the first maybe like 20 minutes, 25 minutes of the movie where most of the cinematography shined. Like most of the first 25 minutes, you've got that first scene, which I mean, we'll get into that, but that's one of the best scenes of anything I've ever seen filmed.
Okay, so I have a question. How many musicals have you seen?
Ah,
American, like US musicals. I'm not talking like Bollywood.
well, right. So, I mean, Bollywood is one of the reasons that I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so stupid once I found out it was a musical."
Yeah, you have a bias coming into it.
Yeah, I had definitely a lot of bias coming into it. No, I've definitely seen some. Some has been a while, but some I've seen more kind of recently. I've seen some that are traditional musicals, some that are not very traditional musicals, like the movie Once, which I was very close to putting on my list, but I chose this one over that one.
I remember that one.
Yeah, not a traditional musical, but this was a very, very traditional musical. It's not just the fact that it was a musical, it's the amount of moving parts that the director managed so well.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm gonna say I those weren't anything new because like you had those kind of shots in Singing in the Rain or Chicago or Grease or like I mean musicals like have that because you have a large group, you have choreography, you have these dances that are happening in unison. So you have like these big like sweeping shots from up top looking down. You have these color schemes. I mean, it all looks really incredible and it's super impressive. I'm always impressed. Like they can get all these people to do the same thing
Hmm.
on screen at once and make it look this good. So I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I didn't find it to be so unique to La La Land. I mean, they did it well. They executed the stuff just as well as any.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I thought this was unique. That first scene, there were maybe, and I don't, and this might not even be true. There were, and I examined it pretty closely. There were maybe only 3 parts where that scene was cut. Everything else, the dancers and the singers, all these people. If you think about the first scene, they had to close off a ramp of the highway. They had to close off a whole ramp on this highway in what I presume to be Los Angeles, which is the busiest traffic, one of the busiest traffic places, if not the busiest in the United States, let alone the world, in order to get this scene to happen. How much time did they have to put behind the scenes in order to get, in order to make this work on this busy ramp with all of these cars, and they were all, they were all in it together. They're taking up time and they're taking up a lot of money to close this ramp, but they happen to do it, and they happen to do it so well, so perfectly. And what I loved is that, there were, like I said, there were maybe only 3 parts where that first scene could have been cut, like opportunities to cut it, and they might not even book it. It might have all been one. It might have all been one cut. I think there was at least 2, but the way that it transitions into just going straight into the movie. They finish the song, and everyone gets in their door or into the car. They shut their doors, and the camera is kind of, it's looking over the top, and then it slowly comes down, and it goes right into the
Yeah,
movie. We go looking right into Ryan Gosling's car, and Emma Stone's car, straight into the movie.
yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It was great, but I feel like
Well, that's here. That's the first part. That's the first
mhm.
part of it. You know me. I like to focus on details. If you look back at the movie, and I don't know, maybe you did this too. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's cars. Do you see them in that whole sequence?
Actually, no, I did not. I don't like to do that where I rewind back to look for it, so I didn't see it in my first watch. Like their cars in the dancing sequence. I assume you're asking in the first song, right?
Right, right. I made it a point to look back. I couldn't find them anywhere. I could not find them anywhere. But right before everybody closed the song, then the camera goes up like over the top, to you can see all the cars all at once, and then it comes back down. And in that time, which is like 12 seconds, I think it was, they had to move the cars into the scene. The cars
Oh,
changed.
okay, okay.
So some of the cars had to move out of the way. So the car that was in front of Emma Stone's car was at a different location prior to the scene. So that takes a lot of, I mean, it was just really masterfully thought of so that they can make it so seamless. And so maybe I'm harping on that first scene way too much, but I just really, really loved it.
Generally speaking, like I agree with you, right? Because my cinematography score is also like just with you. You're at 95, I'm at
Yeah.
90.
Hmm.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think you are giving La La Land in itself too much credit. I feel like I just think that a lot of musicals have the same detail-oriented shots throughout, because a lot of musicals they rely on long shots, especially if there's dancing. You can't have
Right,
like
right.
dancing in a bunch of cuts. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, that's why Bollywood sucks.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, kind of.
You maybe you're right about that. You know, 'cause if you think about a Broadway play, it is literally all one take. You know, so maybe that's true. I just talk about all the moving parts and how they had to really choreograph all of that at the same time. So there's so many variables in there, but they did. You know, I think they did it pretty well. Another thing I noticed, there were many moments in this whole movie where the director chose to play with light and like the absence of it, or they would dim the lights, or they would highlight a character.
Yeah.
Was that something that you like kind of clued in on? What were your thoughts about that? What do you think was the
Well,
purpose of
now
that?
that you mention it, a couple times that it like comes into mind is only when Sebastian Ryan Gosling's character is at the piano, like in the zone playing, and it's like just him. So that's what I mean, I think that's what the director is trying to show. Like, he's in his zone. It says him and the piano, and you're kind of in that space with him. What other moments were there like that? I'm trying to think. Okay, so when like towards the end of the movie, when Emma Stone's character Mia, she comes home to hear jazz playing in the apartment, and she hasn't been in contact with Sebastian for a few weeks now. Like she just got off the phone, leaving a voicemail saying, "Hey, I haven't talked to you in a while." And she comes
Mm-hmm.
in,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's like this bright light at her face, and this is zoomed right in, and like obviously, like we said, she's an incredible actress, and she has like the perfect expression on her face
Every time.
to show what like she's seeing. Other than like those two moments right now off the top of my head, what other moments are you thinking
So
about?
that's actually not even one of the moments. It kind of has that effect, but that wasn't actually one of the moments. So the first two times this happens, she's looking in the mirror.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah.
very first time, she's in her bathroom. She just got out of the shower. She's in her bathroom. She's looking in the mirror, and she's kind of looking just dreamingly into the mirror, like kind of full of hope for the future. The second time is at that party that she goes to. She goes to the bathroom,
Same thing in the bathroom in the mirror.
and it's the same exact thing. She's looking in the mirror. It dims for the third time in the movie when he's playing the piano, and that's when we get to see how passionate he is, just like you said, because it's kind of like, what would you call it? It's like a highlight, or like a I don't know what the theater term would be for it,
So
but
it's the spotlights. The spotlights on him darkens out everything around him.
there you go. It's a spotlight. That's the third time is when he's playing the piano in the club, and she walks in. When she walks in, she's also spotlighted into the club, and then outside of those moments, there's a couple, but they're mostly, like I said, they're mostly in that first 25 minutes. Another really great part of the movie where the director does choose to spotlight her in particular is when she's telling the story of her aunt her
Yeah,
aunt in Paris, when she's at the audition, and she sings that song, and she does like a freaking amazing job on. That's her best singing performance, I thought, of the whole entire movie. That scene was amazing. And again, the lights are, she's spotlighted, and then he is spotlighted when he's playing the theme song
hmm
again in the club at the very end of the movie, and they're both spotlighted in that moment.
like her in the crowd and he up on the stage.
I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, it's like just them two in the room pretty much at that point.
Yeah, and then there was one moment when the trumpet solo that's at that very end sequence is also spotlighted. That I don't know why. I have a theory on the other stuff. I mean, I guess we can transition a little bit into this theme and motif section,
Yeah,
but
let's do that because that's a section that we have a disagreement on, at least based on our scores.
Sure. The premise of the movie. I mean, you kind of touched on it. There's a premise that you will not be successful, at least in Los Angeles, doing what you love and also being with who you love.
Yeah,
You kind of have to choose
you have to
one
make a sacrifice.
or the other. You got to make a sacrifice specifically with, being with somebody that you love. Because in the whole movie, when he is successful, they don't have time together. At the end of the movie, when she ends up being successful, they are not together.
Well, you could say they're both successful at that point because he's also achieved like what his passion, his
Right,
dream
but they
was.
weren't. They didn't have time. He didn't have any time for her.
But it's like too late. Yeah, it's too late for that. Well, what do you think about that? So like I actually wrote this question down. I'm like, all right, they pursued and achieved their dreams individually at the cost of their
Hmm.
relationship. With the way the movie ended and like we can only assume that that what if scenario that plays out while he's playing the piano at the very end, we can only assume that this is something Mia is thinking in her head, right? Or maybe even like they're both thinking while that moment is happening, they're both thinking about all the what ifs. So with that shown and like that feeling that it like, brings up in the audience, do you think it was worth it that they pursued and achieved their dreams, sacrificed their relationship that they had? Was it worth it for it?
That's a great question, and that is, I mean, that's kind of the eternal question. You know what I mean?
It really is. I mean, yeah, there really is no answer to it.
When they're both together, that's what the director plays with throughout the entire movie. You'll notice whenever they are both together and happy, it is always a fairy tale,
Yeah.
right? That's their quote La La Land, is
Mm-hmm.
when they're both together and they're happy.
Yep.
And so, it's kind of like it's sort of bleak, but it's the premise is sort of that it's real love is not achievable unless you give up on the rest of the stuff that's important to you in your life.
Now, okay, so this is I think we have a difference in opinion here. So my thing is that that's a little too cliche. I mean, yeah, that's Hollywood. Like that's exactly what you expect to see. And while he did deliver it, the director delivered it, adequately and it was well done. I mean, just it being cliche didn't make it so impressive to me.
I think, you see, every theme and motif is cliche, though. Anything that anybody wants to teach you in life is going to be cliche, but it's cliche because it's true, right? Because we hear it so many times that we're like, oh, that's so overplayed. Well, yeah, but that's kind of what makes it true. That's what makes a theme at all true and cliche. So it's always going to be cliche. But you're right to say that it is, it is it's probably overplayed. People probably talk about that too much, the tragedy of love and success. But
Yeah.
here's why I think that in this movie the theme and motif kind of plays into the direction quite a bit. There's a lot of setting up that the director does, that I believe he does before a song with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, to let you know, hey, there's about to be a fairy tale song where it's not, you question whether it's even real, whether they were actually even singing and dancing, or if they're just really actually just having a conversation. But it's so, to them, it's so, I guess, it's such a good connection that they have that it's like a fairy tale. That's kind of the sense that I got. And maybe I'm reading way too much into this, but like take this, what a waste of a lovely night. That scene.
Yeah.
You remember that scene, right? That's after they're at the party, they're leaving the party, they're looking for their cars.
Yep, yep. It's like basically the poster shot that they have is like from this scene right here.
I don't know if that's by the Griffith Conservatory or what, but
It's up in the hills somewhere.
yeah, up in the hill somewhere. So that scene starts at about 31 minutes and 50 seconds in. Let's call it 32 minutes into the movie is when that scene starts. It doesn't end until 37 minutes in. So there's 6 minutes, and that is all, again, that's all one take. That
Yeah,
involves their conversation. They're walking up the hill.
they're dancing.
They stumble upon this view. They start singing and they dance in synchrony, and they
Yeah.
transition out of that scene into the next
That
one.
was a great scene, man. That was a great scene. That's it's one of those like shots where it's like, man, the cinematography in this movie is incredible.
Exactly, right, right. So before that scene, he sets up he plays songs in the background that are going to be sung. So the kind of the melody for that song,
Yeah.
you actually hear it while they're walking up. Just as because they starts off when they're walking with like cars and all lining the streets in the background. It's all real life stuff, right? But as soon as they you kind of as soon as the camera moves away from that, and then you start to get a glimpse of something that's not in the same world where they were in. That's when that song starts playing. Then you stumble upon this beautiful shot of Los Angeles in the back,
Yep.
right? And then the song gets a little more, and you start to hear it in the background a little bit more, and then they start singing and they start dancing, and then we're done. They're done with the song and dance sequence. Then they go back to kind of like real life. So that song and dance sequence, and that among others, is kind of their La La Land. That's their fairy tale. That's when they're both happy and they're both together.
I mean, that's when they're like first really getting to like know one another too.
Right.
Actually, I wrote this down. I felt that even though they made it like super obvious from the very start that all right, here are the two love interests, like you said at the after the first song, you see them in the car, like all right, there you go, they're your two the love interests in the movie, and then the anticipation that they play out for the next. So this happened, like you said, after the 30-minute mark. For the next like 20 plus minutes, like there's actually good character development here happening. You're getting to understand who Mia is and who
Hmm.
Sebastian is, and when they do meet, I mean, obviously you already are rooting for them. You like both of them very much, and you want them to work it out.
That's so interesting. You see that I say that I literally have that. I literally have that in my notes. See, I think that's just kind of a testament to that's a testament to their acting.
Their acting is incredible, man. Ryan Gosling, I mean, he did a good job, but Emma Stone was just like another level. She was just so good. I wrote down so many times where I was just like, man, like her reaction is just incredible. Yeah, so when she has like that bad audition, right? She has an audition, like a
Mhm.
callback, but
Yeah,
at the callback, the director like hears one word and he says, "All right, that's enough," and she just has to walk.
yeah,
And when she's driving back, this is after Sebastian already made that date with her for to watch Rebel Without a Cause. And she drives by the theater, she sees the movie, and she's like reminded, like, oh yeah, I have this coming up with Sebastian. And then she just has like this smile in her on her face that's like everything's cool, even though I just had a horrible audition. And it's like, man, she's so good at that. And then another one when she obviously is late to that date for the movie theater because she forgot that she had to go to dinner with like her boyfriend Greg and his brother or whatever, and she leaves them, gets to the theater, and then when she like they both like see each other in the theater, he just stands up with his goofy smile and
yeah.
yeah, it's just good stuff like that that just makes you smile throughout the movie, and it's just so well done.
Yeah, and I mean I have that exact scene in my notes. I mean, I could go on forever talking about her acting in this movie and in other movies. I think she's so underrated. And her acting in this movie is one of the best performances I've seen
I
because
was I was actually thinking that too. Like I'm like I know she's a good actress, and I've seen her and stuff, and been like very like oh she's pretty good. But watching this movie again, I was like, man, she's not good. She's like great. She's amazing.
she is. The thing is she's very when she shows emotion, it is so believable.
Yeah,
It is so real. It's so natural. Where I mean, you like watching her. You're like, I know who that is. I know people who look like that when they're in the same situation. She's just so good at bringing real life emotions to the screen. I can't think of anybody who really does it better. That scene that you're mentioning, I mean, she completely forgot everything about that audition. Immediately, she was happy. She was excited for her date with Ryan. Like she was gushing. We see her like kind of twirling with her hair. She even
yeah.
kind of blushes a little bit. What's I think her what was even better was when we actually see her when like her actual boyfriend comes to her, and her smile is so forced.
Yeah. Like it's so clearly obvious that like she just plays it well, like what's genuine and what's not, and
Yeah,
she acts it like perfectly.
yeah,
Impressive, man.
and she does it while I mean, you know how we were talking about Moonrise Kingdom, and people are just waiting for their lines. She is
Yeah.
somebody who does not do that.
Yeah,
She
she
really
seems like super engaged, like as if she's in that conversation.
So she's, I mean, speaking of her emotion, I mean, did you notice her signature laugh when she's crying? She has
Yeah.
she has like a scoff kind of.
Like brings her head forward and up and just
Yeah,
yeah. It's like authentic, man. It's just
it's
so good.
authentic. It's authentic, but you know that who knows how long she has worked on that craft. I mean, she's done that character in this movie so well. She's kind of like desperate, for any role that would come her way, and she's I don't know. I feel like she's a little too trusting, maybe even at the beginning. I don't know if maybe that's a stretch, but that was the sense that I
Trusting
got.
of what?
Trusting of life, you know?
Oh yeah, they'll work out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that she's going to all these auditions. She's basically facing rejection every single time, but she's kind of just picking herself up again. And there are moments where she just feels, down, but as soon as she hears about another audition, she's right on it.
And it's funny that one time that she like truly gives up is like when Sebastian doesn't make it to her one woman show at the
Yeah,
theater, and like she just doesn't have someone to lean on. So like she actually just breaks down and is like, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this.
yeah. God, that scene was incredible too.
It was. That was actually great acting by Ryan Gosling as well.
I've always thought he was a good actor too, but when I saw this movie, I was like, okay, he's really really good.
He generally always has like that subdued, like laid back acting feel to him. But there's this one point when like when he goes all the way to what's the hometown that Mia is from? I forget. But like he goes back, to the house in front of the library, and like she doesn't want to go out to this callback or whatever that Ryan, like, that Sebastian has for her, like that the
And he's
news
like,
he's
"You're a
brought.
baby."
Yeah, and he just starts yelling like at the top of his lungs. It's
Oh
just
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
just perfectly well, man.
yeah.
Almost believable, but like you don't see it coming, yet it's still believable.
But that's kind of his character too, right? This was I like this. I like him in this movie because he plays a different character than he usually does. He always has a subdued, like kind of just chilled, laid back, but really somehow still suave dude, right? He's a lot more neurotic in this movie. He's not the same. I don't think he's the same character. There are moments
He's like more passionate.
way more passionate.
Like when he's talking about jazz, he gets into it. Like you can see his like vein popping on his forehead, and he's like, like his hair is just shaking in the front. Like,
Well,
he's
like
into it.
he's obsessive compulsive about it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he is.
Like this is what I saw of his character. Neurotic, a little obsessive compulsive, not very friendly, and he's a dude who values creativity and his love for, authentic jazz more than real life problems like past due bills. And like when he goes to his apartment, he sees his sister and they're talking this whole time. She's like, "Why can't you get your life together?" He's like, "I am getting my life together. My life is jazz." And that's such a stark contrast to what he ends up doing in the middle of the movie, joining that band that's completely not authentic jazz.
Oh, okay. You brought that up. Let's talk about it. I want to talk about it. What do you feel about John Legend's role in this movie?
Eh.
He's the one black guy who doesn't care about the integrity or like the history of jazz. I thought it was kind of weird.
Well, I don't think he did. It's at least the way that they said it. I didn't like him in this movie. I thought that was really forced, and that's one of the decisions that I'm talking about that I thought was really forced. Honestly, outside of Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, there wasn't really any great acting in this movie.
Yeah, there's nothing memorable.
There's nobody else. Everybody else, if you just took out Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, this is an average, below average, probably movie. with like subpar acting. And John Legend is just one of those. I just thought it was a forced thing that it was meant to be like a oh, he's in this movie, like when you see him and you're like, oh, it's John Legend. And then when he sings, you're meant to be like, oh, he's such a good voice and all this stuff.
I mean, he is though. He is a good.
He does have a great voice, but I just don't think that I don't know. I don't see how he totally belonged.
He had one good line. Maybe we can get into the writing here because you gave it a pretty high score. I wrote down some quotes for this movie actually. So this is what John Legend's character said to Sebastian Ryan Gosling's character, because he's trying to convince Ryan Gosling to join the band and make a good living, make some money. And he says about jazz, he's like, these guys, the ones that Ryan Gosling looked up to, or Sebastian, I should say, these guys were revolutionaries. How are you going to be a revolutionary if you're such a traditionalist? You holding onto the past, but jazz is about the future. I thought that was like the one line to like kind of.
See, but that's the thing. The whole movie, that's like the one line in the whole movie outside of the songs that was so forced that that dude's not gonna talk like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's almost like an excuse to give the movie like, hey, look, yeah, he's like this one guy who is quote unquote selling out, but they forced that line in there to kind of bring it
Yeah,
back a little. Like, look, yeah, we get it, but there is a reason why he's doing. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I see. I just didn't. I think that that's one of the parts that was maybe even just kind of rushed. I think they could have put a little bit more thought into that scene because the context that he's saying that line is that they're kind of in an argument. They didn't happen. They weren't in an argument. They were just sitting at the side, and he
Yeah,
just said,
I think Sebastian was just quiet. He wasn't saying anything really.
and that's what something you would say in an argument, where
Yeah.
he's just like, "You're not, you're stuck in the past and stuff." Well, there's a reason that he was at the place playing music with you. He obviously wants to join your band and join whatever revolution you're talking about. I just thought that it was so rushed and forced. I don't know. I kind of got a sense of that a little bit throughout the movie. There were some scenes that I think the director probably just thought of when he was uh, random points in his life was like, okay, I'm gonna put this into a movie. This is a great scene.
Yeah, and just try to find a way to fit it in.
Try to find a way to fit it in. I think this is one of those. A lot of them I didn't mind. It was clear that that was what was going on, but I didn't mind because it was so well. Like we can again kind of transition back to the cinematography. A lot of this movie is an homage to a couple of things. One, oldies movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of like homages. I have this written down too, actually. Older Hollywood movies with like the shots with the neon lights,
Right.
the driving, the kind of blurred out, like overlooking the city shots. I mean, it really gave you that old time, old movie vibe.
Right, right. So that's definitely that was something that he was really, really trying to play on, and I think that he did that really well because of the context of the movie is in Hollywood, and in the background you see, you see what seem to be old sets, and you see like these actors who are acting in movies that are taking place in kind of like a different time frame in the background, and you see a lot of it's just an homage to old Hollywood and old Hollywood movies in general, and specifically silent films. The movie when they were at the song when they were at the Griffith Observatory,
The song that was playing,
the song that was playing.
I don't remember in particular.
It was something that you would hear in a silent movie.
Oh,
And
like
it was
like a piano,
Yep.
like basically guiding the movement.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
There was not a piece of dialogue in that whole
yeah, yeah.
song.
It was all quiet.
It was a song. And so I
Yep.
think that that whole scene is just an homage to silent movies. And even when you watch that scene and you watch the way that it plays out, that's the feel that you get. You feel like you're watching a silent movie.
I mean, yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, that's part of the title too. I think, like when it says La La Land, I mean that is Los Angeles. It is La La Land.
So that's why I think he did it well. Speaking to that scene specifically, when she's standing at the front of that movie theater, and you see like the screen behind her and just her
Mm-hmm.
and her face, that expression, that that seems like something you would see in an old silent movie. When they see the Tesla coil, when they go to the museum, you remember when they see that Tesla coil?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Even the way that those scenes are transitioned out of, it's a very, very old school 1920s Charlie Chaplin esque.
Yeah, like with the circle, like zooming in out of it. Yeah,
Closes up in a circle. That is
exactly.
silent movie. And the music was just like that. So I thought that that was really, I don't know if other people would pick up on that, because who knows what a silent movie is like nowadays. But
Yeah,
I
not
happen
many
to love
people.
Charlie Chaplin, so I thought that that was really impressive. And yeah, that's part of the again, that's part of the reason that I gave the cinematography so high. That's part of the reason that I gave the direction. I'm so torn about the direction there, because there are pieces like that, and then there are pieces about the John Legend thing that I don't know what to I don't know what to make of it. I think this could have been better if certain parts were omitted or just paid more attention to. This could have been one of the best movies of this generation. But
As far as the musical goes, it's definitely up there for this generation. It's, I don't know, a better musical I've seen in the last 20 years plus. All right, so I have actually one thing. Maybe we could finish off with this. It's another quote I wrote down from the movie, but it also ties into the themes that we were talking about. One of the themes I think, just on its own, is passion, right? The passion to go out and be something or do something that's great. Emma Stone's character, Mia, says this. She says this to Sebastian when they're fighting after Sebastian is trying to like have this nice romantic dinner with her after not seeing her for so long. And they eventually start fighting and bickering because they're not seeing each other. And Ryan or Sebastian is in this life of touring, doing something he's not really into at all. You know, she's working on her play and has like nothing has really taken off for her yet. So she tells him, or he tells her that, oh, no one likes jazz. You said it yourself. Why even bother? And then she tells him, people will want to go to it because you're passionate about it, and people love what other people are passionate about. How true do you think that is?
very true.
I think so too. I think that's a very real line, and it hit me. I'm like, man, that's something he needs to take into account here. He better go out and start his club. But then he kind of like says some douchebaggery things to her.
But who taught her that though?
Oh, the passion thing? Yeah, exactly. He's the one who taught her that from the beginning.
So his character changed completely, and so did hers. Right in the beginning,
Yeah.
he's the guy who's doing his own thing. He's gonna do whatever he wants, and his life is dictated by his whims. Hers is dictated by other people. Hers is dictated by the opportunities that other people are giving her, and she's desperate for other people to give her a chance. Meanwhile, he's saying, "Look, this is my chance. Do what you will with it." Right?
This is like the point where I was like, this is where the direction shines. Like, it's just so well done. The character arches of both of these characters, where they both start off, where they meet, where they diverge, and then they come back.
Absolutely.
Did you like the ending? Did you like that they didn't end up together?
No, I loved it.
Actually, I loved the ending too.
Then this movie should be called something else. If they did end up together, it shouldn't be called La La
Not
Land.
well, not just that. Like, I mean, I like the ending and that they didn't end up together, but I like that they also had that solid like 10-minute sequence of the what if like they had ended up together.
Right.
Like, what if they had like never fought about anything and made it work out? That was just a great sequence. It still gives you that, all right, leaving the theater with a smile, even though they technically didn't like work it out.
Of giving the audience what they want without actually giving them what.
So it's a win-win pretty much.
It's so interesting too. Have you? I can't think of a movie where I've wanted two characters to be together more than this one.
That's what I'm saying, man. From the very beginning, we're rooting for them. These are characters you can get behind.
How? Right? How does that happen? That happens through amazing, I think, amazing writing of the in terms of the script. I think it happens through masterful, real, authentic dialogue where the characters are playing off of each other and flirting so naturally with each other, and just masterful acting, like world class acting, where even honestly, in the beginning scenes, their song and dance sequences, they're the weakest singers and dancers in the whole movie. You notice that? They're the weakest ones. And he's like, they're nothing special, but you're rooting for them because they're still
Yeah, they're
amazing.
so amazing, but like them not being the best just makes it feel a little more authentic and more genuine to us as the audience member. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was there for a reason. They could have easily placed shitty dancers around them, or they could have just done his voiceovers, but they actually sung those. They sung them perfectly, but it was real, right? The only song where I thought that there was like really good singing was hers when she was singing about her aunt. I forget what that song is called. It was really really good performance by her. But again, I think that she was. I mean, maybe that was towards the end. She had more training. I don't know what it was, but you're rooting for them because of the direction, because of the writing, and because of the acting. And it's so clever. I think it was so clever that he forced us to root for these two
The
characters.
song is called Audition, The Fools Who Dream.
The Fools Who Dream.
Yeah.
What a great song. So that's what I'm talking about. The lyrics in these songs were incredible. They were awesome. They were amazing.
They were. Honestly, all the points you've made recently, I'm going to change my writing score. I'm going to put it up to a 75. I have it at 65. I'm going to change it.
Nice.
No, because the whole character art stuff, I mean, I need to give that more credit. That was just very well done. And then the music is just enjoyable. And the lyrics are good.
What was your favorite scene? What was your favorite scene of this entire
My
movie?
favorite scene or my favorite shot?
Both. We'll go both. I know your favorite shot was probably at the when they're singing that song when they're "What a Waste of a Lovely Night."
No, my favorite shot was right after Mia tells Sebastian, like, I'm going home, like home being home. And she drives off and Sebastian's in front of the theater with his car. It's an empty street. It's like a painting to me. So it's an incredibly beautiful shot. As far as my favorite scene though, my favorite scene honestly is the what if scene. It's just too feel good, too happy. Like that entire sequence is just, I loved it.
Yeah. It's really in your face, isn't it? That thing, the whole sequence is very in your face. I can watch this movie over and over and over again. One of my favorite scenes in this movie was when she's at that party and she comes out of the bathroom and everything is a slow motion and the music is slowed down. See what I'm talking about? And she's going through the party.
And then like everyone's like kind of still, but each person is like with someone else.
Everybody's with someone else outside of her, and it's just like everything's in slow motion. I thought that scene was beautiful.
That was a good scene. That was and then that's when the next song starts, right? Because everyone's like still, and then someone jumps into the pool, and boom, the song starts. Yeah, that was a good scene.
Right.
All right, dude. Well, I think that's all we got. There's not much else. I think we've discussed everything.
Amazing movie.
Yeah, definitely a great movie. Definitely worth watching. I think we both agree on that for sure. Yeah. If you like musicals, you're gonna love it. If you don't like musical, you're gonna definitely still like it.
I think you'll still love it.
I mean, I know people that just like can't pay attention during the songs. Sometimes songs are too long for them. I mean, that happens. Like, we're in a different world now, man. People can't listen to a song for more than 2 minutes.
Get off of your phones and pay some goddamn attention.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thank you for listening to this production of The Twice Over. If you would like to keep up with us, please subscribe wherever you listen and check out our website, thetwiceover.com. And follow us at The Twice Over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you would like to support us, you can do so on Patreon, or you can just tell a friend about this podcast. And finally, if there are any comments or feedback, please email them to us at comments@thetwiceover.com, or you can just tweet at us. The music you hear is from Amerigo Gazaway. Check him out on Bandcamp and Spotify. We'll be back next week with another episode.
Like, you didn't want to watch Game of Thrones because you were like, I'm not into fantasy.
Okay.
I can totally see you. So I can totally see you.
I've never said I'm not into musicals, though, and I've never said I'm not
into
into rom-coms.